So we go to grab a plate, and we almost get left.
I knew it.
You called it.
I knew it. As soon as we leave, he's gonna head downstairs. Normally, there's like you can expect like a good 5 or 10 minutes, slightly behind schedule.
Yeah.
He's very punctual for what he has to do, but I always bake in some leeway times. And I knew as soon as we went downstairs to grab some food, he was gonna head to the car.
We don't miss no
So
meals.
now there's a chance that we get left and we're not on this flight.
Probably we get left, we're about to get dogged out.
Stay tuned. Austin, Texas, just in Boulder.
We didn't get left.
We didn't get left. We're here.
How you doing, man? Good luck tonight.
Hey, awesome.
I thought they were cheering for you, Neely.
I think they were.
Me too.
I mean, I got the eye contact. You got the wave.
It was like a general wave.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna be right here to the left. Helmets here. This is what Randy left for you.
Your participation has been terrific, so very, very much appreciated. Our Academy Awards ceremony, if you will. Then we will hear from two-time Super Bowl champion Deion Coach Prime Sanders. Give a hand for that, right?
Good, sir.
24/7.
What's going on, man? You all right?
But
Please.
really, again, the
Don't
episode
worry about it. How you doing, sir? Good. Pleasure.
quintessential
Pleasure.
award
Thanks
for
for
our
being
district.
here. Glad to see you.
So we're always very excited to announce
City
it.
on Kenny Hansmire.
And this year's finalists
Child
looked
ID.
up
I was
to
child ID,
highest
yeah.
standards
Yeah,
to
yeah.
provide distinguished leadership.
The Attorney General from
Really
South Carolina.
requiring that you can
Hey man,
How you
good
doing,
thing.
sir?
Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having
So
me.
thank
Yeah,
you
this
again.
is
We
great.
turn our attention to the
Glad to hear you
international
talk.
category.
I hate that I'm going after you.
Three
I
finalists
really
this
do.
year.
It's gonna be good. I gotta go now?
Do you mind if I look at you real quick?
I'm looking good, baby. Check it out.
from basketball. You know, I think I dropped like 36 that night. I had a couple dunks back to back, and we were going back across town on the yellow bus, you know, for our trips. And one of my homies, he said, you know what, man? He played football and baseball with me. He said, you are prime time. I said, hey, you're right. and I told my mother that she was never going to work another day in her life. You got to understand, also, coming out of high school, you get that. Also, was drafted by the Kansas City Royals out of high school. And they offered me a substantial amount of money, but that was not going to retire my mother for the rest of her life. So I bet on me. I bet on me. Some of you talk, but you don't walk the walk, and you're not willing to bet on you. I bet on me. I'm going to college, and I'm going to do this thing. Then I will have balance. Not only football player, baseball player, but now I can play this one against this one, because if I have two people bidding on me, that creates more value. I thought like that as a young man because everybody that's confident, you're gonna clap with me. But if you're insecure, you're gonna say, Lord, I can't wait till he can come up to see you tossing and turning. But I had that confidence because I worked with my butt off, because I saw my mother working her butt off. So I worked my butt off, and I knew I had it. That is tangible. I knew I had a gift, and I just had to develop it.
Where did it come from?
The gift came from the Lord. The work ethic came from my mom. And the non-stop attitude, that was just a tremendous thought process, because I didn't want to be like my father. I didn't want to be like anybody in the city. I didn't want to be like this guy, that guy. I was uniquely him.
Tell us about Miss Conley and
my mama,
who she is, who she was.
She was one of the hardest working women I've ever seen. Never complained, never bickered, never murmured, never talked negative about my biological father, who was a drug addict, my stepfather, who was somewhat of an alcoholic, but he wasn't abusive. Never complained a bit. To this day, never asked me for a first class flight. She's going on her fourth home. Never asked me for a home. Never asked me for anything, but I provided for her because that was my mama. My mama never saw me play in high school. It's hard for me to have a pity party on some of today's kids because my mother never saw me play in high school. So it's hard for me to understand. I don't get the support. I didn't get support either, but I did the doggone thing because my mother never saw me play football, baseball, or basketball in high school because she was working. The first time she really got to see me play was in college. She would drive 6 hours to Tallahassee to see me get down for Florida State, but never saw it in high school because she was working on Friday nights. So it was a challenge. So when you ridiculed me, when you naysayed me, when you doubted me, when you hated on me, I didn't give a darn because between all the smoke and all the ignorance and all the adolescence, I saw my mama in the hospital pushing a darn cart. And you think I'm gonna let a critic who has critics criticize me and I'm gonna adhere to that foolishness? You got to be lost your mind. I was out there balling for my mama. Now right there, you're supposed to clap.
And so you said your mother was your inspiration for wanting to take care of her, but the business part of it.
I watched everything, man. I watched the way people moved, the way they reacted. I had several different shows, white shows, black shows, Hispanic shows. I watched everything. I watched the relationship between Fred Sanford and Lamont. I watched Art G. Bunker and Edith. I watched the Partridge Family and the darn the Brady Bunch. I watched the Jeffersons. See, I watched Good Times, and even though it never was good, I don't know why they call it Good Times. I watched all that stuff, and I just studied. And I prepared, and I said, okay, I'm gonna take that out. And then I had these heroes that I couldn't touch, I couldn't feel, but they were my heroes. But I never tried to emulate them or imitate them, but I did take little bits and pieces from them and incorporate them in myself. You can see a little Ali in me. Because he was bold and he was rash and he was confident. He was, oh, God, Muhammad Ali, I loved him. He was the baddest of the bad. Dr. J, this man was a brother, and they called him a doctor, and he didn't have a PhD. I loved that. I loved it. I loved Hank Aaron for what he endured during the home run title chase, I love how he stayed focused. Even the gentleman ran out to disrupt him when he was running around the bases, when he eclipsed Babe Ruth, and he still was focused on just getting home to touch that plate. And my last guy, I know you may disagree at this stage in age, but O.J. Simpson was O.J. Simpson, not the O.J. that the young people know. I'm talking about the old O.J., you know, not the O.J. in the Bronco. I'm talking about the old O.J. where it was, I mean, he had the white community, the black community, he had all communities, and he was beloved by his teammates. So I took bits and pieces out of those persons and I incorporated. And I learned from them. I learned from their mishaps. I learned from my father's mishaps. Let me put a pin on this and tell you this. See, I told you, and I passed by eloquently, and I told you my father was an alcoholic. My stepfather, my biological father was a drug addict. You would not think, and you would not even understand. You may still be in disbelief. I've never tasted alcohol in my life. I never smoked, I never drank. I stopped using profanity when I was 18 years old. So all the idiotic stuff that you've seen me do, I was well aware of what I was doing. It was strategic, it was a plan, it was part of the process. You say, what position do you play? I play receiver, I play quarterback, I play prime. I like that. Like that should be it. I don't know what that means, man. Everywhere I go, they talk about culture. They talk about culture. When I was at HBCU, they talked about culture. Now at Boulder, they talking about culture. Now you're talking about culture. Culture pretty much, to me, is the understanding of the way you go about your business. Unapologetic. We create culture. We don't adhere to culture. We create time. I don't adhere to time. We create fashion. I don't adhere to fashion. I do me because I want to be happy. God only made one me. I would look like a fool trying to emulate and imitate you when there's only one me, and I'm uniquely and wonderfully made. Why in the world? I've never in my life tried to be like anybody. I said previously that I would take bits and pieces, but it was incorporated into me. God has given me a tremendous gift, and I've been able to see past the smoke and past the fire and past the curtains and walk through and enter in some places that I wasn't supposed to be in because I had the nerve. Quit allowing people to tell you who you aren't, that don't even know you, that don't even know your middle name, that don't even know your address, that has no good mention and intentions for you. And they telling you what you aren't. Even some of your family members, I've never adhered to that because I've always known what I was, and I always have known who I am. And that's a bold thing for a young brother that understands who he is in this day and age and stage of life. I've always understood who I am, where I'm going, and how to get there. And that's powerful, my brother.
Amen.
They influenced me from the birth, from the beginning. Coach Dave Cable, Caucasian man, seen me playing in the hood. On this rec league team, came over to my crib and asked my mother, could he take me to the other side of town? And I played for this organization, this wonderful organization. And he and his wife treated me like they were, I was their own. That was the first time I ever been on a plane when we flew to Carolina to play. We flew to Georgia to play. And from that relationship, I had never seen long driveways, tennis courts in the backyard, and family eating their meals together. I had never seen a Mercedes-Benz, and you didn't have to hide from the police at the point in time. I had never seen a family sitting around the table with the father at the end of the table eating dinner together. I had never seen those type of things. And it blew my mind when I went over to their homes after the proposed games, and I saw something, and it was so structured and organized that when I was out of football, I organized one of the largest youth programs in the country called Truth, Trust in God, Respect Myself and Others, Understand I Have Unlimited Possibilities, Try My Best and Never Give Up, and Honor the Truth in His creed at all times. And our kids recited that and they regurgitated that at all means. But he impacted me. My high school coach, Coach Ron Hoover, was tough, didn't play. He had a team rule that if you got suspended, you were kicked off the team. And I was in the library minding my own business, and a fight broke out, and I go try to break up the fight, and the teacher came in and saw me in the midst of it and said that I was being insubordinate. I had to look it up since I was in the library. I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, I was not insubordinate, whatever that word means. But I got suspended, and I was kicked off the team, and I let him down, and it broke his heart. broke my heart because I let my teammates down, but then I became the best leader I ever been in my life because of him disciplining me. And I needed that. And when I went to Florida State, Coach Bowden and Coach Mickey Andrews was just constant professionals. And Coach Mickey Andrews taught me some of the techniques and taught me some things about life that I use to this day. I'm a microcosm of all those men that impacted my life and so many others at the professional level. So I always tell parents, be careful what you do around your kids because they're watching. Bosses, be careful what you do around your staff because they're watching. And you have no idea that lives that you are impacting, you may not receive the results right now, but 10 years from now, you may bump into that gentleman or that young woman, and they may say, you know, when you said this on this particular day, it changed my life. You have no idea. So I'm very conscious of the power and the authority and the position that I hold in life. Because those men, if it weren't for those men, I wouldn't be where I am to this day. I start getting calls and I start preparing because whatever I do in life, I want to dominate it. So I start preparing and really doing my homework and research on how this stuff works. And I went at it and had a few interviews and knocked it out of the park, but I didn't get hired. I said, okay, that's not what God wanted. And then I went to Jackson State. Then I saw the vision. I understood why God would want me to go there to change the understanding and the intertwinings of college football. You got to understand, it's hard for me to go into any situation and not provoke change. When I walked into this room, it probably was about 74. I'm pretty sure it's 72 or 71 right now, because I cool things off. Like I bring instant calm to situations, and there's no way that I'm gonna not affect and infect every darn thing I do. And I've always been that way with every football, baseball, and basketball. And think about this. How can I not be impactful? When I played for George Steinberg and watched him. I played for Mark Schott and Cincinnati Reds and watched him. I played for Dan Snyder and watched the Reds and Jerry Jones. I played for Eddie DiBartolo. I could keep going. I played for some of the most iconic owners that we have relationships, and I watched them intimately to see how they move, to see how they conduct the business, and I know what's supposed to be what, and I know how it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to be. So when you give me this college job, how in the world can you dare, and I was on television for 14 to 18 years, you can dare to tell me I'm not qualified? That's an insult. Not only did I give you a gold jacket like performance, but I gave you television. So usually when these coaches get fired, where do they go? The television. I already beat you there. So you talked about having a resume and understanding these kids now, and that's the thing we got to do. We got to understand these kids because it's a new kid out there. You know why the kid is new? Because of y'all.
Say more.
The kid is not new because of the kid, because it's the same kid. They still doing the same stupid stuff that we did, but you guys are babying these kids. You know why? Oh, no. Let me get up on that.
I can take my mic off.
No. You guys are babying these kids, and then we got to clean up the bull junk. Let me tell you why. Because some of you are so successful and you're doing way better than your parents. You really did, and you told yourself, hey, boy, when I become a parent, I raise my kids, I'm going to do totally different. I'm not going to be as tough on my kid as he's tough on me. I'm not going to punish my kid or spank my kid or send them in time out. I'm not going to not do this and not do that. I'm going to give them this, I'm going to give them that, and that's what you did. And you created a cat. Not a dog, a cat. A cat is in the house. A cat meanders around. A cat jumps on this and jumps on that. A cat has that beautiful food that you roll the can back. And you get a dog, you just put the stuff out back, you know? And he gets what he gets. But it's because of you. And we got to deal with it. So you were trying to raise a dog, but you got a cat. Now you get mad at yourself because dog-like situations come about. And you expect little Timmy to be tough and little Wanda to be abrasive and ready to stand up to the trials and tribulations of life. But guess what? You raised a cat.